Hi everyone, welcome to Art with Artemis, and today I will be showing you how to draw the Skeld from Among Us. In PatchToon's cartoon of Among Us called The Baby Imposter, you can actually see what he envisioned as part of the Skeld. I don't really know what the Skeld will actually look like as a full model, but I'm just going to try and follow it as best as possible because I like how he did the Skeld. So I get myself a sheet of paper and I sketch out the side of the Skeld. What I'm going to do is kind of like make it a little bit box-like at the top, but it kind of curves a little bit. So it's okay if it's a little bit curved for now. Make sure you don't press too hard with your pencil because that way you're going to have to keep erasing it and you might get confused on which line you're drawing. So I'm going to go over here where the front of the Skeld is and I'm going to sketch downward. I'm going to make the box kind of curve a little bit upward, have a pointy edge. Then I'm going to continue and move downward. If you don't know where on the Skeld I'm actually drawing, I'll show you a reference on the top left corner of your screen. This is the front of the ship. It kind of looks like a nose, to be honest. I'm not worrying about the inner parts as much, but I'm working on the underbelly. I want to get the main shape of the actual spaceship before I'm working on the extra details. I'm going to speed up the video a little bit and show you what the actual shape of the ship is. It kind of reminds me of like a weird sort of box. I don't know why. It's like a milk carton or something. Like when you turn your head, it looks something like a milk carton, but then at times it doesn't. I don't know, but it's a really different shape. I go in towards the middle, and I continue, and I add in some extra lines. This way, I can figure out where to chart the other lines which show the dent marks or the curves of the ship. After I finish drawing the body of the ship, I'm gonna work on the main front, which I'm going to add these lines and I'm going to go a bit downward. These lines are a bit thicker, which is okay, but I'm going to draw them out anyway. So that way I have a better idea so I can chart out where I need to draw my lines. And I continue to add my line here, and I'll add this little panel here that has the words for the Skeld. Then I go a bit upward to the nose of the ship. And I make that look a little bit more defined. It's not as boxy and it kind of curves a little bit inward. It actually just goes a bit inward, not really curves. I'm actually going to extend this to make it longer. I move upwards towards the front of the ship. I start drawing the front window. Since I accidentally made it a bit smaller than the actual picture, I go ahead and I begin to reshape it. That's why it's necessary to have an eraser on hand. I add the extra detail lines for the windows, and I add some little line marks to show where the lighting of the glass is. After I do that, I go to the top of the ship and I reshape the main shape. Honestly, that sounded like a tongue twister. Try saying that like 5 times fast. Let's see. I go to the top of the ship and reshape the main shape. I go to the top of the ship and remain the main shape. Darn it. Yeah, this that's a bit much of a tongue twister for me. But anyway, I'm making a panel also. And when I'm done with that, I go towards the middle and I make this line a little bit thicker. And I try to reshape that so that way I can figure out where to do my extra lines for the underbelly and the main top part of the ship. I start sketching towards the middle. If you can see on the top left corner, you can see where the windows are. I'm trying to get where that is. As you can see, I'm working on the bottom. There's like a weird triangle at the bottom that I'm trying to match with my main lines. I try and work on the top line too, and I make sure it's divided, so that way I could put the 2 windows in. The underbelly of the ship consists of different shapes such as smaller rectangles, arches, and some that look kind of almost heart-shaped. It's okay if you don't have it 100% accurate. I'm just trying to figure out how to draw this as best as possible while looking at my reference. As you can see in the picture, the thing that's sticking out is actually the wing, so I go ahead and I draw a rectangle and I curve it on the right side. I'd say the most tedious part about this whole drawing is that you have to draw random lines. I mean, I don't mind drawing them personally, sometimes it's a little bit hard. It reminds me of making a puzzle because you have to figure out what lines work and flow together. But in the end, I think it turns out great. So I have my reference of what PatchToon's made from his cartoon, and this is what it kind of looks like in comparison. I try to make it as accurate as possible, but it's not 100% accurate. That's okay, because this is going to be my drawing. So, once you're done with that, you can go ahead and do any touch-ups that you find necessary or that you need to do. I'm going to get myself an art pen, which normally I use a Uniball Vision pen that's fade-proof, and waterproof. But right now, I'm going to be using my anime pens or my manga pens that I got from a kit. So I'll be trying that and trace around the sketch. to keep what I want in my final drawing. Doing the line art phase takes time, but I sped this up just so you can get the idea of what I'm doing. During this time, I sketch out what I want to keep in my drawing, and if I find any lines that I don't really like, I go ahead and redraw them. Make sure to erase your pencil marks when you're done. After that, I get a blue marker and I color in where the glass is supposed to be on the ship. You can use colored pencils, crayons, or markers, or whatever you feel like for coloring in your picture. I'm using alcohol markers, which is similar to Copic, I guess. I'm not really entirely sure, but I heard they're very similar. After I do that, I grab myself a gray. It's kind of like a metallic, shiny marker kind. I used to have one of those markers from Sharpie, but it didn't really work and the paint inside just dried out completely. As you can see, it's covering up my line art, but don't worry. At the end of coloring it all in, I'm going to go over it with my line art pen. But first we have to continue with our other colors. So I get a darker gray, and I go where the thick lines are. In the original picture you can see where those lines would be. It's just a bit darker than everything else. After doing that color, I get a blue-gray. I want to get the main color of the ship down, so I color it all around, and I do some extra touch-ups when needed. I'm going to use my metallic gray, and I go ahead and I color the end of the ship. Then I grab my manga pen, and I go around and I trace for the lines that were covered by the ink. I want this to stand out a bit more because this looks a little bit muddled. So I go ahead and I trace it all over. Last but not least, we go ahead and we grab some yellow and we start adding the flame at the end of the ship. I color it with a nice yellow, then I eventually get my red and I color in where the red part of the flame will be, which is usually on the inside of the flame. I get a color pencil and I color it with a dark blue, and I color it all around where the background would be. Since I don't like how this blue is, I'm going to use some black. And I color that around where the blue lines were, just to give it a darker look. Completely off topic, but I actually had time to paint my nails, which sounds really, really strange. But I wanted to get a bit festive for the holidays. And I think we should get back to this art project. So, what I want to do for this background is I'm going to get my watercolor markers and I'm going to paint around my background. I've noticed when it comes to watercolor markers, it's a matter of knowing where to balance the ink and where to put it. It's kind of different than normal paints. But for this background, since I didn't really do a great job with the pencils, I want to make this stand out and look really good. So after coloring the whole page, I want to continue and balance my colors a bit more. That way it looks even. Once I finish doing that, I get myself some white acrylic paint. I put some of the paint on my paintbrush and I wet it a little bit. And then I flick the paintbrush and it gives it a spread look. I then use my black watercolor marker and I continue. What I'm trying to do is feather in the color. Instead of just leaving it all choppy and awkward, I want it to stand out. I want to make it where it has a darker and lighter sequence. So that way it shows that they're kind of near a surface of something, but we're not exactly sure what. You can leave that to your imagination, because it could be anything you want. It could be a distant planet or whatever. I then get my white and I go over the windows. What I'm trying to do is add some lighting. I think all the grays kind of muddle in with the background a bit, so I want to try and make it stand out a little bit more. And I smush it with my finger just a little bit. I'm not pressing too hard and not using too much paint. It's a little bit watery, but not too much. It's a weird balance that you have to find. Then I go to the top of the metal and I make it kind of look shiny. I don't want to add too much white because I don't want it to look too shiny. I want it to have just enough shine, if that makes sense. Like I said, it's all about balancing. Colors are a very iffy thing. If you overdo the white, it's going to look too bright, but if you underdo it, it's not going to really look as good. And once I finish doing my colors, I go ahead and I grab my Uniball Vision pen and I trace over the line art. This way, it will make it pop even more. When I finish doing that, I get my watercolor marker and I spell out the words of the Skeld. Then, I continue by writing my name in the corner. Make sure you write the date and your name on your drawings. This way, you can see how far you've made progress. Now, we're pretty much done with our drawing. Thank you all very much for watching this video. If you want to see more art tutorials or more how to draws, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell for more. You can help support me on Twitter at Artemis64. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Art with Artemis. Anyways, thank you for watching, and until next time, see ya!